Some cultures are more susceptible to the fundamental attribution error than others. Westerners generally define themselves as individuals and not in terms of the relationships that they're in. And we tend to think of ourselves in the context of our individual goals, our individual identity attributes and preferences. Non-Westerners are less susceptible to this fundamental attribution error because they tend to think of themselves in terms of part of the group or part of the community, part of their family, or even as part of their ancestry. Now, here's a little test for you. Here are some words, 7 words, and they're scrambled. See if you can make a sentence out of them so that they make sense. So most students from a Western culture, North American, European, will unscramble this to read, Tim caught his shirt on the gate. Okay, a good grammatical answer. So who is responsible then in that sentence? Tim caught his shirt on the gate. Sounds like Tim's responsible for tearing his shirt, pretty much. But another way to unscramble this, that people of Asian descent, South American descent, African descent might be, and it's perfectly grammatically correct in English as well, is the gate caught the gate caught Tim on his shirt. Now who is responsible for the shirt getting torn? The gate. Given the pronounced difference between Asians and Westerners' attention to context, it should come as no surprise that Asians are more inclined than Westerners to attribute behavior to the situation, and Westerners see dispositions and internal causes like personality and personal attributes as the cause of behavior. And we've talked about this notion of context before, and that Asian cultures tend to, when they even view a picture, tend to take into consideration the background much more than people from Western cultures. So sometimes culture can act as a prime. There are some people that are connected to both independent cultures and interdependent cultures. For these individuals, their tendency to attribute behavior to the person or the situation can vary depending on what kind of culture is primed for them before. So some of the evidence that's been gathered about this was through people that live in Hong Kong, because this is a city that's heavily influenced by both China and Western countries like the United States. The residents of Hong Kong then made more dispositional attributions after they were primed with images relating to Western culture, and they made more situational attributions after being primed with images related to Chinese culture. Now we've been really focusing a lot on the fundamental attribution error and the power of the situation, because I think that since we are from a more Western independent style culture, that this is what we need to learn the most of us, not all of us, but many of us. But it's important to realize that personality plays a role in this too. I posted a slideshow on the big 5 theory of personality, so that's part of it as well. I'll show you some highlights of that in a minute. But another thing to stress is that we're often interested in understanding the intentions of a person, their motivation, and how that factor lends itself to behavior. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this fun slideshow that I had posted, and you know, Lewin didn't exclude personality or characteristics in explaining behavior, but he stressed the importance of situational factors, mostly because Westerners or people that are part of a more independent culture tend to ignore the situational factors. So let's look at some of the big 5 personality traits. The first one is openness to experience, or an appreciation for things like art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, and having the traits of being imaginative and curious. So you probably recognize this person here. Conscientiousness, a tendency to show self-discipline, act dutifully, and aim for achievement. Extroversion, energy, urgency, and tendency to seek stimulation in the company of others. And agreeableness, a tendency to be compassionate, cooperative, rather than being suspicious and antagonistic to others. And then neuroticism, the tendency to have negative emotions like anger, anxiety, and depression. And it's interlinked with a low tolerance for stress and aversive stimuli. So it goes over some famous personalities, looking at Hitler. And we'll look at how he tends to fall out. This slide is a little bit hard to see here. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see with all of this overwriting here, but basically it tells us that he was low on agreeableness, he was high in conscientiousness, high in extroversion, low in open to experience, and high in neuroticism. Here's Bill Gates again, and let's see, you probably know all of this about Bill Gates. I'll give you a chance to read it in case you haven't. And how does he fall out? So Bill Gates comes out as being open, high on openness to experience, high on conscientiousness, low on extroversion. So in other words, he's an introvert. Medium on both openness to experience and neuroticism. So no extremes there. And it's important to point out that because if you fall out low on a trait that you seem to value, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad personality trait. We've done a lot of work in trying to recognize the contributions of introverts. So it's actually no surprise that Bill Gates comes out on that introversion side. So that's it for chapter 5, and I encourage you to continue to utilize that study guide. Make sure you prepare by looking at all of the items on that and making sure that you're clear and understand the concepts related to each item on that study guide before you take quiz 1. And then make sure you set aside enough time to take the quiz.